Hello, hi, and welcome to this episode of Speaking About Speaking with me, Jackie Goddard. And as you can see from the screen, it is just me. So here I am on a wet Tuesday afternoon in my kitchen, speaking to you, not necessarily about speaking today. So what I'm going to be talking about today is TRIPP, T-R-I-P-P, T-R-I-P-P. And that's an acronym that I've put together for a talk that I've given a couple of times now. And it came out of lockdown back in 2020, when we were all in our own homes, not being able to go anywhere, trying to run our businesses from our houses with kids around, with everything else, not really knowing what the hell was going on, and everybody feeling a little bit baffled, a little bit vulnerable. And in that time, I was looking on LinkedIn, and a lady that I'd only met once before in real life called Jo Homstead, lovely, lovely woman, was on a video, and she basically was saying, look, if there's anybody out there, I think she was walking through the forest, New Forest, where I live in the UK, and just talking to camera and saying, this is a strange time. If there's anybody out there wanting some support with trying to run a business in these weird days, then I'm gonna start a Zoom call. If anybody wants the link to join, then just DM me. And so I DM'd her and I got the link, and I turned up with about 15 other people that were all feeling vulnerable and in the same position. And we met, I think at that point, I can't remember if it was every couple of weeks or monthly or whatever. And we didn't sell anything to each other. We weren't referring each other. We were just talking. We were just supporting each other, just being supportive. And after a few months of being in that situation, we'd got to know each other quite well. Jo put together a presentation. So she said she invited a few of us in the group to contribute. And this is where I started my speaking career. Basically, I'd never presented anything before, but I had in lockdown been looking at my story about who I was and how I'd got to this point in my life. And with all of the sort of career things that I'd been through, all the different jobs I'd had, what made me me? Why was I doing what I was doing? Why was I now in this space, running my own business and not in lockdown wanting to go back to what I was doing before? So I was really beginning to look at who I was and what I was doing. So out of that came this presentation to a group of other people in my situation. I told my story. I had a few ideas around how people could use their creativity for their well-being, how they could become more resilient. And that's what turned into TRIPP. So I've now done this talk and presentation a couple of times to different groups. I've spoken to the staff at a hospice, again through the lovely Jo Homstead. I adapted this talk for there. I've done this talk for the NHS. But every time I do it, it really kind of really resonates with people, I think, because it's just a way of finding some kind of joy within yourself, joy in your own person, who you are and what it is that you do and why you do it and how you can build your confidence and creativity. So this is interactive. I will talk you through TRIPP in a moment. But if there's anybody out there, please do comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to know how you coped in lockdown, how you are getting on now, coming out the other side. That's my Be Real that's gone off. I don't know if anybody else has Be Real, but I'll turn that off. Or shall I do it? Shall I just do my Be Real now? Is that a bit odd? No, that's a bit naughty, isn't it? I'm going to anyway. There we go. Live on LinkedIn and YouTube. I've just done my Be Real, so my family will be able to see what I'm doing right now. Anyway, back to this. Anybody out there, please leave me a comment, get involved. I'd love to find out what you're thinking. And also, if you use Be Real, I'd like to know. So let me start with TRIPP. So what is TRIPP? TRIPP. These are, just 5 tips really about how you can build your confidence and your creativity. So T, truth. Be sure that what you're doing is in the truth of who you are and what you believe. Because remember, if you don't believe what you're saying, then your audience won't believe it either. And now, I trained as an actor back in the day, and those of you that know me well will have heard this story 100 times before, but I used to dress at the Royal Shakespeare Company at the Barbican in London. And one time, many, many years ago, I was dressing an actor, and we were in the Pit Theatre at the Barbican, which is a tiny theatre in the basement, like 7 floors down, where they used to bury the dead bodies from the plague, actually. Not in the theatre, but before then. And Toby, the actor, had to simulate sex on a mattress under a sheet in the middle of the theatre in front of the audience. And I was like, that sounds really real. How do they do that without actually dying of embarrassment? And so when Toby came off for a quick change, I asked him, and he said to me, if you don't believe what you're doing, then the audience won't believe it either. And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, that's how you act. So it's not about me, Jackie, getting onto the stage and pretending to be a character and then feeling really awkward if something goes wrong, or, I have to do something embarrassing. But I had to be truthful to that character. I had to be them. So acting is about being, not about playing. It's about finding the truth in the character, and then finding the truth and being them. But I mean, how does that relate in non-actor terms? How does that, how do you do that? Well, let me explain. Don't play at being the person you think you should be, or the person that you think other people expect you to be. Be you. Be authentic. Be truthful. Show up as yourself, because you can't get caught out that way. If you are being you, then it's your story and yours alone, and nobody can catch you out. So be truthful to yourself and believe what it is that you're saying. Own your story, because you are unique. You are the only person in this world that has been through the experiences that you've been through. So take ownership of them, because they really will give you confidence in who you are. Cicero says confidence is a trust in oneself. So trust yourself, find your inner, your self-awareness, and really own your stories and be proud of who you are. You are unique. So moving on to R for resilience. Stay resilient by looking inwards. Okay, we look so often externally to help solve our fears. So we look at the news or social media, and they, of course, only exacerbate our fears rather than solving them. So look after yourself. Don't look externally for other people to be responsible for you and your well-being. Look after yourself. I'm sure you've heard the analogy of when the plane's going down, don't put the oxygen mask on the child next to you, put it on yourself first, because without you, the child doesn't stand a chance. So look after yourself first. You can't look after anybody else until you've done that, until you've really looked after yourself. And you can't solve the world's problems, but when you look after yourself, you kind of create a ripple effect. So you look after you, which then ripples out to your loved ones, to your friends, and then out to your community, your country, and then the world. So look after yourself first. It's really important. I improvise. Now, that's a scary word for lots of people. And again, if people know me, I do a lot of improvising, or I certainly get other people to do improvising. And it's fun to do. But actually, we improvise all the time, every single day. We open our mouths and we speak out loud, not knowing what response we're going to get. And then we have to react. And that's improvisation. We make it up as we go along. So don't be afraid to improvise. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone, because that's really where the growth happens. When you're doing stuff that you've never done before, you're speaking to people you've never spoken to before. That's when you'll transform and you'll really grow. So don't be afraid of stepping out of your comfort zone. Now, neuroscientist and jazz fan, Dr. Charles Lim, has been involved in a series of studies trying to find out what effect improvisation has on the brain. So he conducted a series of experiments where he worked with jazz musicians and hip hop artists, having them switch between playing learned pieces and improvised pieces, all while their brain was in an MRI scanner. And what he found was that these artists, when they improvised, the lateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that produces our inner critic, went quiet. It temporarily shut down. In other words, when artists improvise effectively, they can temporarily switch off the part of their brain that modifies and restrains creative impulses. They've developed the ability to silence their inner critic. They have developed the inner, I'm saying that I've got a helicopter going overhead now, so apologies for the sound. I haven't got my headphones on. And therefore, because they have managed to shut down this kind of inner critic, they have unlocked their creativity. And inspiration and creativity strike when you are doing what you love. Which brings me very nicely on to play. So find time to play, whatever that means for you. It might be cooking, gardening, an improv class. It might be skydiving, bungee jumping. I mean, give yourself headspace. Laugh, have fun. Give yourself permission to step off the treadmill. The definition of play is engaging in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. Play researcher and psychiatrist Stuart Brown says that nothing lights up the brain like play. And the ability to play is crucial for our emotional well-being and also our mental health. So find time to play. I mean, he argues that play isn't a rehearsal for adult activity, but it's a natural state that we deny ourselves as we get older. And Monty Python's John Cleese, says that a creative mood by definition is a playful one. He says, why can children play so naturally? It's because the parents are minding the shop. The kids don't have to worry about who's cooking dinner. So if you want to play as an adult, you have to create a space where you get away from the ordinary responsibilities of life. Find time to play. It's really, really important. And that brings me on to the last letter, the last P. P for positivity. Be positive. Play the yes and game. Now, the yes and game is an old improv game, which encourages inclusion, expansion, and positivity. So give it a go. Start a sentence with yes and rather than no but. Because as you'll see, yes and opens up the conversation. No but shuts it down. Gosh, I'm not having a good day today. There we go. So yeah, the yes and game. It's a great way of just really opening up a conversation, and it adds enthusiasm. You can't not be enthusiastic when you say yes and. Whereas when you say no but, it brings it down. That it kind of automatically brings the mood down. So yes and, see what happens. And remember that your thoughts are things. Yeah, the brain can't tell the difference between imagined and real events. I've learned that from my NLP practitioner course, that actually what goes on in our subconscious and the way we speak to ourselves is really important, because our subconscious takes all of that in. It can't tell the difference between a negative word like don't play on the railroad tracks or don't be good. It just hears the positive words. So we can trick our brain to feel positive, to feel optimistic, to feel hopeful. Those are our choices. We can choose that. We can tell ourselves that that's how we feel. And you can do that by walking around with your head up and your shoulders back and breathing deeply. So be positive by default, make it a choice. Have PMA, positive mental attitude. Now, those of you that are old enough will remember the old Purcell ad back in the day. But positive mental attitude has been around since at least 1937, when Napoleon Hill wrote about it in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And he proposed that positive thinking was a key driver of success. And then it kind of was expanded to suggest that having an optimistic disposition in every situation in your life attracts positive changes and increases achievement. And Aristotle said, happiness is a state of activity. And according to a recent study out of New Zealand, engaging in creative activities contributes to an upward spiral of positive emotions, psychological well-being, and feelings of flourishing in life. So that's TRIPP. T, truth. R, resilience. I, improvise. P, play. And the last P, be positive. That's for increased confidence and creativity and fun in your life. And that's really what it's all about. I'm reading a book at the moment by Daniel Priestley, and he says that actually we become attractive to our clients and customers if we are vital, if we are playful and find joy in what we're doing. He says that we'll make more connections and meet more people by going out sailing with a group of people rather than sitting around sending emails. And I think he's right, actually. I do think he's right. So that's TRIPP. Now, if there is anybody out there who would like to make a comment, I am absolutely open to discussing this further, because for me, it's just an easy way to really kind of explain a way or just sort of tips to helping people to live a more creative and more playful life. If there's any questions that you'd like to ask, I'm happy to answer them. If you are watching on the replay, then please do ask questions too. I'm very, very happy to answer those there. So you can leave me any kind of comments that you might have in that space on YouTube or on LinkedIn. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can go to powertospeak.co.uk, and that's where you can make contact. You can send me an email. You can have a look through the services that I offer in the speaking world, because obviously I am a speaker and acting coach. So if there's anything there that you'd like to work on, a signature talk, perhaps you just want a power hour, I'm quite happy to speak to you for an hour and help you with any tips and techniques that you might have about speaking to an audience. So if you'd like to get in contact, you can do that there. You can also, if I can find my brand, here we go. You can also scan this QR code, and that will take you to my newsletter. And with the newsletter, it goes out every 2 weeks. I've had a busy couple of weeks, so it's only just gone out yesterday. Do sign up there, and every single edition of the newsletter contains, I think, useful tips to help you speak to your audience and to build your confidence around speaking in public. So if you want to speak with confidence, then do get in contact with me there. And otherwise, come and find me at Power to Speak. Well, there are no comments. Nobody's getting involved at the moment, which is absolutely fine. But I think what I might do is say goodbye for now. And then if anybody would like to ask me a question later or put any comments in after watching the replay, then do that there. But thank you very much for being here. Next week, I'm here with my fellow stunt person acting tutor, Adam Armstrong, who also, alongside the acting coaching, alongside me, we've both been coaching stunt trainees up at Pinewood Studios, and the two of us, along with another tutor called Peter Ferris, have been working with the guys up there. But Adam Armstrong is also a speaker coach, so he goes into corporates like I do and works with teams to really build their confidence around presentation, amongst other things. So join me next Tuesday at 4:00, and I will be speaking to Adam, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for bearing with me with my phone going off and helicopters and stuff, and Be Real. Really apologize for that, but that's life. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next week. Bye.